Assembly's podcast. We are so glad that you have tuned in. We've been capturing stories of few couples over the last few weeks about their journey of faith, their married life, the victories that they had, and some of the challenges, of course. And I'm sure it's been a blessing to you. And today we are very delighted to have special guests with us, Brigadier Henry Bhasker and his dear wife, Sister Christy Bhasker. Thank you so much for joining us on this special show.
We're so glad you have come, Brigadier Bhasker and Sister Christy. I understand you've been married for 54 years.
Yes.
And you have served in the Indian Army as an officer and retired as a brigadier. And you served for 33 years in the Maha Regiment. Is that right? And you've been part of our church for 19 years. And Sister Christy, you are a gold medalist from the Madras University. And you come from a very distinguished family. Your great-grandfather was Krishna Pillai. Tell us about your upbringing and your home.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for inviting us to share our life with you all. It's a wonderful opportunity. I belong to a good Christian family, and it was my great-grandfather who first became a Christian. He's Vidwan Krishna Pillai, and he had translated John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress.
Wow.
It's a very well-known book.
Yes.
And that is how we all remained good Christians, but we were from the CSI church. Then my father was a commissioner of excise, and I was the youngest daughter. My mother was brought up by Amy Carmichael because when she was very young, at the age of 3, she lost her mother, and at the age of 8, she lost her father. And she inherited a lot of property, and many people were trying to grab her. But at that time, somebody introduced her to Amy Carmichael and requested her to bring up my mother.
Because she grew up in that home?
Yes, in Donavur.
Okay.
And she was very young, but actually Amy Carmichael was not very keen because she thought she comes from a good family and for her to be brought up there. But still she was very good, and my mother calls her Amma, and she loved her so much. And she was with her till she was about 21. She inherited all the property. That time my father was brought as a proposal for her, and she had to get married, and Miss Carmichael also felt the family should be together. So it was her first cousin, my father, and she married him, and he was a police commissioner, and they had 8 children, and I was the youngest of 8.
So you grew up in Chennai?
In Chennai. I studied in Good Shepherds, and I did my B.Ed and I topped the course. And I was taken by the convent to work in Ooty, Nazareth Convent in Ooty.
Beautiful.
And it was a beautiful place.
Brigadier Bhasker, tell us a little bit about your
Pastor,
journey. Yes.
Before I commence, I'd like to thank you for having given us this opportunity. Well, I'm from a South Indian middle-class Christian family, and grew up in Chennai only. Did my schooling in Chennai and college in Chennai. And after I finished my graduation, I was teaching in my college, and I was also in NCC. But more than academic side, I was excelling in sports, and I've been a boxer, and I've been a hockey player. I played hockey for quite high thing. I played for the Madras University. Also, I had 3 blues: one in boxing, one in hockey, and one in athletics. And I was a senior enrolled officer at the NCC. So with all this qualification, my NCC officer thought that I was fit enough to join the Indian Army. Without my knowledge, he filled out the application. And as I was teaching in the college, I suddenly got a call to appear in the Services Selection Board, and I went there. God's hand was on my head, and I got selected in the first shot itself. And I joined the Indian Military Academy, did my training there, and I was commissioned in the infantry, posted to Maha Regiment. And I had the great opportunity for every infantry officer. Look forward to having an operational experience. God has given plenty of it. I took part in 65 war with Pakistanis, and I got given a chance to do well for the country. And I did a lot of things which, every officer should be proud of. Thereafter, I was posted. I was serving in LOC environment. Then I got a letter to say that you've got to come down. It's high time you get married. And that's how it is.
So, Sister Tell me, how did you both meet and when did you get
I
married?
was teaching in the convent, as I said. My father was a little worried because he thought I might turn into a nun very soon. So he got me back home and he said, we've got a proposal for you. And an army officer, I was a little worried. I had never been in contact with any army officials and all that. Anyway, he came down and
I had known him as a child. We are relatives.
Oh, is that
I've been to their house
Okay.
so many times and seen her sitting as a small little girl.
he
And
said,
one of the occasions when she annoyed me, I threw her in a water tub in their house.
pond of water which was used for watering the garden. He pushed me in and I never had any good thoughts about him. I'd forgotten about it. That later on my sister told me, it was really very funny that he has come to marry you. Anyway, that it got fixed.
So you married in which year?
1967.
67.
1968, our son was born in the military hospital.
Wow. 54 years
54 years.
married. We salute you.
Thank you so much.
54 years. You
Together.
have one son, is it?
Only one child. We have two grandsons also.
Okay, wonderful, yeah.
So he is also in the army,
Yes,
isn't
he
it?
is.
Colonel Vinod
Yes.
and his wife Suhasini,
Yes.
and you have two
Two
grandsons.
grandsons.
She's also a Tamilian girl, a Christian family.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So they have two sons. One fellow is 24. He's Suvin Bhasker. And the
Yes.
younger one is Aman Bhasker.
Yeah, we want to know a little bit more about you and your journey in the army. Tell us about, you've had number of experiences. Tell us a little bit.
Well, Pastor, in 65 war, I was thick of the battle, and the day before the ceasefire, Pakistanis want to, in war, every inch of territory you capture is about bargaining purposes. So they were desperate in capturing as much as you want. Then one of the elements of the Pakistanis entered the thing and almost coming to the battalion headquarters to annihilate us, because if he killed the commanding officer, I think everything is finished. So I was told to intercept them, and I intercepted them. And as I was telling you before, in the war, there's no silver medal, there's no runners-up. They're either quick or they're dead. And God gave me the opportunity to kill him for the country. And later on, we realized he was a very highly decorated soldier, called a highest decoration in Pakistan, called Sitare Zurat. So I did a lot of things, and of course, Pastor, in killing and things were part of the game. And we have done a lot of things, and we always one up on Pakistanis. Pastor, I'm a specialist in counter-insurgency operations. I chased a lot of militants, and a lot of achievements I had to my credit. And of course, I also had a lot of setbacks because we've been almost caught by militants and Pakistanis. In 71 war, of course, again God gave an opportunity to be right in the forefront, and I led that thing, and God has given an opportunity to reach. I'm the first officer, infantry officer, company reached Chittagong by land route, and I was appointed as the chairman of the porters of Chittagong. Even now my name was etched, I'm told. So I spent the time there. So my operational experience has been very varied, and I'm so happy as an infantry officer. Nothing more gives me more pleasure, more satisfaction to be able to do operationally something for the country. That's how it is.
So, Sister Christy, tell us, as an army officer's wife, what are some of your challenges that you faced?
It was quite hard because I didn't know the language at all. I knew no Hindi, and when we go for a party anywhere, the ladies were all jabbering in Hindi and Punjabi, and I knew not a word.
You're
and
from
people
Chennai.
started thinking that I am trying to put up my attitude. So I was to be quiet. But then the problems I had with my batmen, the men who used to help out, I told him one day, get me a basin from the bathroom to put the clothes in. So he just went off, and he said, okay, and off he went. And he never came back for a long time. I went myself, picked up the basin, I put the clothes. There's no point in arguing with him. When he came back, I said, where did you go? So he says, "Main basin lene gaya." I said, where did basin? I didn't know, And I said, what is this? He said, pakoda banana. He said, he went to buy that gram flour basin. I wanted the basin to put the clothes. Things like that. And one day in a party, I had dropped something on myself, so I wanted a napkin, So I said, can you get me a napkin? And off he went again and never came back. Then the lady of the house came to me. She said, Christy, you got what you wanted? What is it you wanted? I said, I wanted a napkin. He said, but he said you wanted namkeen. I said, oh Lord, the language is terrible. You know?
So you had yours.
They pronounce napkin as namkeen, you know.
Namkeen.
Now, he thought I didn't know how to pronounce. That's another one, you know. I said, go call the barber because my son's hair had to be cut. So I said, call the barber. He said, kya barber hota hai? Then I said, the hair
Bal
cut.
cut.
Then he said, barber bolo. He says, barber hai.
bolo.
Barber nahi hai. So that's the language, you know. I was really thoroughly confused. And the batmen, you know, they used to come out. And one of our ladies, she wanted the onions for the thing. She had also something like me. She didn't understand. So she said, get me some onions, salad. So the server were just walking off. So she asked somebody, now what do I ask him? She just ask him, pyaz le aao. So she, instead of saying, no, pyaz le aao, she said, waiter, can you give me some, pyaz de do, pyar de do, pyar. And he said, badtameez. He said, badtameez, kya maang rahi ho tum? Just thoda pyar de do. So that's how it was. The language was a big problem for
But I may add something. It's not only that if you marry a civilian lady who doesn't know Hindi, but marrying a total civilian girl is a big hazard. Because in my case, she attended a first passing out dinner 3 days after a wedding. In army, you know, for dinner we wear the white patrol. White patrol is all white dress, and of course only the badges of rank and the medal is there. That's the difference between the waiters and us. She being totally a civilian doesn't make out anything, and I left her off and went to meet my friends, you know, to passing out. So she calling my commanding officer, waiter, party law.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't
Commanding
use so much
officer, the
authority.
Mahavir Chakra.
I had eaten some chili, something with chili, and it was burning my tongue. So I saw this gentleman in white. I thought he was one of the waiters. So I said, waiter, can you get me a glass of water? I spoke in English very politely. So he gave me the water and went off. And next he comes with the same gentleman, introduces him as his boss. I really got a start, but he was a very nice gentleman. He said, that's a secret between us. He said, what happened? What happened? I said, then he was very sweet, that gentleman. He says,
So you had some
he's a Mahavir
interesting-
Chakra and all that, a very nice person.
Yes.
All that I want to say is, having a civilian wife who doesn't know Hindi, calling my commanding officer, a waiter in the initial marriage of life, still the God's great blessing that I came up to a rank of a brigadier. All praise to God.
That's one.
At one time, when I was alone in the separated family quarters in Madras, I was very disturbed, and I went to make some coffee, to have some coffee. I heard a voice behind me saying, don't take anything, you have to fast and pray. Your husband's life is in danger. I did not understand, and in those days there's no contacts, no cell phones, so I had no idea that he was in the thick of battle. And because there was no news from him at all. And of course we saw the newspapers, but I didn't know that he was in Mizoram. I didn't know he had gone into 71 war. And then I kept praying till 10 o'clock. I couldn't take even a sip of water. Then that was over, and after that everything became normal. I thought maybe I was mentally disturbed, that's why this has happened. But when he came back, I asked him what happened on the 14th of December. He says, why do you ask me the question and how do you know? So I said, I don't know, this is how I felt. And I was told to pray for you.
So
Then
what happened on 14th?
Then he said,
Well, Pastor, it's like that. The Indian Army was advancing toward Chittagong. And when we realized that the Pakistanis is going to surrender, so there's no point, I was told that we must attack and capture them. Before we attack, we don't headlong, we attack. We put a stop behind the enemy so that we attack from here, enemy gets sandwiched. So I was sent with a big force to go behind the enemy, put a stop so that the attack will take place. In the meanwhile, it was ordered that Pakistanis might surrender, so therefore the attack was aborted, and I was told to come back. Mind you, I was marching for nearly 14 hours with not much of water, commanding such a large amount of troops. I was only a major. So I came back, I was very tired, and my commanding officer told me to take a position in a particular place, and I removed my shoes, and I put my carbine down, relaxing. I told my orderly to get the people to come and take orders from me. So when my subordinates came and I was giving the orders how to deploy, like you smell a perfume in army, in the infantry, that you develop an attitude of smelling danger. I was smelling a lot of danger, not very comfortable. But suddenly I saw that I'm going to be surrounded, and I saw some movement. I told my subordinates, run, Bago. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening in Bangladesh, and they ran, and suddenly I was surrounded by about 8 to 9 huge Pathan soldiers of the Pakistan army. I dropped my weapon. The situation is that I untied my boots. I don't have my weapons in me. I was surrounded by armed Pathans, and I said, God, what will I do? You please help me. And God gave me an extraordinary strength, extraordinary strength as He gave to Samson. So I fought my way through, started running. As I was running, a lot of firing came on me. I ran, and I was so exhausted. And there was a small little dilapidated bricklane was there. I took shelter there to get my breath back. When I was there, I can hear the Pakistani looking for me, Kafir Kidare and all the things. So I had a choice either to surrender, stay put there, run back to my troops. So I thought I'll have good sense, because if I surrendered there, if by chance I'm caught, well, I'm a big catch for the Pakistanis, which I didn't want to give, because a big publicity, a major of the Indian army is caught as a prisoner. I ran back towards my troops, and the firing was coming on me. The situation was, from the back I got a Pakistani firing, from the front my own firing. I went into it, but God's hand was there with me. You brought me safely, and nothing happened. The moment I reached there was a tremendous shelling, but nothing happened. God's hand was on me.
It's amazing to know that she did not know you were in danger, and
I
how
didn't
the
know.
Holy Spirit will prompt her
Telling
to
me.
stay up and pray. And she prayed, and God saved your life
Yes.
from the thick of battle.
Brigadier, that was such an amazing story to hear the hand of God on your life, and that not a scratch, not a bullet came on you. So marvelous, His protection. So now tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey. When did you accept the Lord?
The Lord has been really good to us. And I was just 14. I received the Lord because my sister was going to undergo a major surgery, and Brother Bhasker, who was very fond of our family, he used to visit us often, and he came to pray for my sister, and he told her very clearly that she's going through a surgery, so she has to give her heart to the Lord. She asked her first, and when she said, no, I have not given my heart, I'm good Christian, I love the Lord, but he said, no, you have to give your heart. So then when he was explaining to her, I was sitting and watching. She was my elder sister, she was in her 20s, and I said, I've never given my heart to the Lord. Then I got very worried. He says, you can't face eternity. You can't go to Jesus. Then I started praying. The whole night I prayed, and I received the Lord. And that was when I was saved. But then I was a good girl, good family, good everything. But then I didn't have my baptism, or I never got a Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And then at the age of 21, I was baptized by Pastor Sundaram.
Brigadier, tell us about your journey. How did you come to Christ?
Right. It's a good question. I was, as a student, whatever I prayed, God was so kind to granting me. I thought whatever I prayed, God keeps giving me. So I joined the Indian Army. Then I said, Army officer, okay, all right. I used to go to church and say, God, look after me, and He looked after me. I thought God was happy with me, and that's all. And there is a ambition of every infantry officer. Only ambition is to command his battalion, to become a commanding officer. That's ultimate. Anything what you get is bonus. So I was aspiring to become a commanding officer. And just something happened during 1980. I met a very serious fire accident, 54% third degree burns, and I was admitted to the hospital, military hospital.
How did this happen?
Sorry?
What happened?
It happened in a house where the stove toppled.
Oh.
And probably it was the stove giving my dowry. And one leg was short, so when she shifted, the whole thing fell down. But I knew that's okay. It's part of the game. And the whole thing caught fire. They were my son and Christy was trapped inside the kitchen. So as instinct of an infantry officer, you don't think, do this, that. He jumped into it and saved them. I jumped into it, the whole family got trapped, and there's no way we could come out. And anyway, as a little fire came on a little bit low, Christy walked over, and I rolled out. And when I came out, my son was still inside the burning kitchen, shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." So there's a place where there are a lot of officers from the commando wing were there. But blood is thicker than water. I had to go inside again, pick that boy and bring him out. So with all these things, I was burned very badly. And I had to go to the military hospital, and the people helped me reach there. And I reached just in the nick of the time, otherwise I would have passed away. And I was going to emergency treatment. And when this was going on, one day I was lying alone, and then I felt Jesus sitting next to me.
Wow.
But I was semi-conscious, but I would feel the presence of Jesus. And he said, "Bhasker, why don't you love me? If you love me, I'll promote you."
You heard a voice.
Clearly I heard.
Wow.
Loud and clear. "Why don't you love me? Love me, I will promote you." And I said, "Yes, Lord." I was perplexed what to do, whether I'm really seeing it. I still fully convinced that I saw Jesus, and he went away. Then I told Christy about it, and sure enough, I became all right, and I was transferred to Pune, and thereafter, all right, I became all right. I became a commanding officer. In the meanwhile, something happened, and Christy will tell the story, what happened, how I got into problem in my recovery from this thing.
The doctor said he has to be transferred to Pune, to the burn
He was
center.
really badly burnt.
He was very badly burnt, and third-degree burns. And certain parts of this thing were bleeding, and it was all the skin was falling off in very bad shape. They had to give first aid and take care. And you put the ultraviolet rays and put him in under mosquito net and completely bandaged. I don't know all the medical thing. But the doctor said he is in a state of shock. But he was talking very nicely. But they said they have to transfer him to Pune. And they did transfer under very difficult conditions. They could not ask for a helicopter because it was a little delayed. And anyway, he went there, and in Pune they gave him a good treatment. And when one of the priests came, and they said he might pass away anytime, he was in a very bad shape. So they came to give him communion. So he said, "No, I won't take communion. I'm going to be all right." That Jesus told me that he's going to promote me. And right enough, the next day after this episode of his, he got an information saying that he's been promoted.
Wow.
He got. But the thing, they did not know about this accident. And in this accident, his condition was so bad, firstly. And even if he had chances of improving, because it was so badly, physically he would have been a total failure, And the doctors did not know about this promotion business. But later on when they came, they really went all out to help him. They said, "Okay, we'll try our best." And that's how they sent him to Pune. He had to undergo skin grafting and a lot of problems. He
The
suffered.
Lord saved your life.
Yes,
isn't
he
it?
saved his life.
And he gave you a promotion.
Yes.
And you went on to
He
serve.
not only gave
In
me a promotion,
80, he should have taken over, but he had to take over only in 81. He became all right, and he was asked to take over.
And you went on to get more promotions.
Yes.
You were a brigade commander.
God is so faithful. He gave me a promotion as he promised. He made me a commanding officer of a ceremonial battalion in the forts in Red Fort, where my battalion will give a guard of honor to all the foreign dignitaries,
Wow.
starting from the US president onwards. But
Interesting.
better than that, he gave me to raise a battalion, new battalion, which I raised, and it's a big honor, and I'm so faithful to God. But I was not so faithful to my word of loving Him. I gone back to the old ways of army officers' ways, but however, he still continued to be faithful to me. He promoted me as a brigade commander, and the commander gave a command of a brigade, and I command one of the largest brigade in the Indian Army, and there's a lot of credit to it. And later on, I came out and became a deputy GOC in a formation which commanded the entire southern India. And around the time, I left the army after some time.
You know, you mentioned that you had premature retirement from the Indian Army. You served 33 years. Tell us what led you to resign.
Pastor, I am not boasting with humility. I am saying I did extremely well as your promotion depends on how you commanded the brigade or the battalion. With God's grace, I did extremely well operationally, and I was fit to be promoted to the rank of Major General. But there are certain things which happen in the journey of army life, where you're not able to, army was not very being secular as far as my understanding is concerned. I felt because when I was commanding a brigade, a lot of Christians were having a prayer meeting in a thatched out. They requested us, give me construct a place to give to me. I constructed a small little shed using the army land, army material, army engineers, and put a small little cross. Then I got an order from the Deputy Commissioner of Tezu, Arunachal Pradesh. You're not supposed to have any other religion than the only holy religion. The Chief Minister very unhappy about it. You please demolish it. I told you I don't take orders from the Deputy Commissioner. I'm an army officer. I'm a brigade commander. I'm a commander of this area. But after some time, I got a message from a GOC. What have you done? Why have you constructed a church? Please demolish it. I said, sir, I explained to him, but he didn't support me. He gave me a lawful command which I'm duty bound to obey, and I demolished it. Thereafter, I lost heart. Because if you cannot, pursue your own religion, when you can have a mandir, we can have masjid, we can have a gurdwara, why can't I have a church? It's being partisan, and I said, my heart was not there. I was discouraged, been led on. And the secular credentials are not questionable as far as I'm concerned. The army may be secular, but according to me, the secular credentials of the army were questionable to me. So I said, I'll better leave the army. God will give me some other occasion. But God was so good. I left the army prematurely. He gave me a very lucrative job in the Nationalized Bank. I became a general manager in Syndicate Bank. Thereafter, he promoted me to general manager personal in the Bank of India. Had an excellent inning. And
Wow.
At one time, when my husband had to go on an exercise with this brigade commander, he was commanding the battalion at that time, and I was, busy cooking breakfast, and we got delayed, and the commander had already left. And anyway, we followed him. And by the time we reached a particular spot, there was a terrible landslide, and the commander had just passed. And my husband was furious because he thought it was I who had delayed him, and he said, you could jolly well stay here and have your food to eat and stay back with the driver and the mechanic. And I was saying, Lord, help us up. And suddenly one man out of the blue, he came and held my hand, and he said, Chalo, I'll cross you. I'll help you to cross. I didn't understand. He was getting more furious because he says, you're just holding on to somebody and where are you going? Then I said, I don't know. He said, Mem Sahab, unka haath pakdo, Sahab ka haath pakdo. So I held his hand, and next moment we were on the other side. He picked up our luggage and went. And he went on the other side. And he said, where do you think you're taking us? He didn't realize we had gone through the landslide with the water gushing like that. And once we had reached there, he said, he just, went to the guest room, dropped our luggage, and we thought we'd pay him something. There was no one there.
He vanished.
He just vanished. And the other people thought maybe he'd find another couple coming or something, somebody to help out. If he's just a laborer or something, he'll come back. But he never came back.
It's what I call a God moment. I believe it was an angel that God sent to take you. Otherwise, it would have been severe repercussions.
No, we couldn't have gone, and he would have really never forgiven me.
Yes.
For what had happened.
Wow. After the army, you joined the bank. And tell us, how did you find yourself in the civil service?
Pastor, as I told you, I left the army prematurely and fortunate enough to join the bank as a assistant general manager to start with, and I grew up. And the civilian life is not as bad. But one very important thing that happened in the civilian life is that I was a member of a Manipal Believers Fellowship where my pastor was very keen that whether or always asked me whether, uncle, are you paying tithe or not? I said, pastor, I'm okay. All right, I'm doing well. But he insisted that I must pay the tithe, and Christy was also saying that, listen to the pastor, she's been telling me to pay the tithe, but it didn't appeal to me. But one fine day, he said, uncle, tomorrow you have to pay the tithe. You whether like it or not, you have to do it. I asked him, pastor, is it a gross salary or a net salary? He said, uncle, gross. Unfortunately, that month I got about very little pay because of the cut here and there. And he said, you pay. And I asked her, he said, you pay. I said, I can pay, but I'll eat in the executive lunch. What about you? You got to drink water and say, praise the Lord. That's all. Right. Then he said, no, you pay. Pastor, I paid my tithe. First time I paid my tithe. And I tell you, Pastor, after just about next day, got a call from my bank manager. Sir, your 60,000 rupees. I paid 6,000 rupees. He said, sir, your 60,000 rupees of arrears has been come. Exactly.
Wow.
That time the pension was not so much. He was to get 60,000. But I said, you pay 6,000. He said, what do you think you're going to eat and all? I said, it's okay. But then it so happened next day when he got a message saying you've been given 60,000. So I said, how good Lord is. Yes. You paid 110. He gave you 10 times more.
That scripture is true, isn't it? From Malachi chapter.
Yes. And that morning, I read the same verse and he read the same verse personally. So he said, see, you know what I got, the verse that I got today. So I said, the same thing came to me. Then I said, now no question, please go and pay the tithe. He went and paid the tithe. The next day he rang up the bank. He said, sir, I was about to ring you up to tell you that the bank is deposited.
Let me tell you, Pastor, what is given in the Malachi is 1,000 times correct, because you said there will be no place. In fact, after paying a tithe, there is no looking back at all. In fact, we are so blessed. We are so blessed. And as a retired officer of 81 years, what I am doing, not many people can do because of His grace. Because He is honored me because I am paying tithe. He is not looking for my tithe. He is only seeing my heart, whether I am obeying or not. And in one of the podcasts, I saw a gentleman saying that he kept increasing the tithe to 12.5%, and thinking of increasing to another high percent, and the blessings are coming more. I've been motivated for that, and I'm going to do that. And I'm sure God will bless my effort.
You know, when I look at both of you, and both of you are 81, you look quite young for 81. But I'll tell you, a lot of people envy you because you know how to live retired life with exuberance and with a flair. The amount of places you go, the amount of holidays, it's worth mentioning. You know, tell me now, year 2022 is coming. What are your plans for holidays?
Pastor, we already planned to visit Umaid Palace in Jodhpur.
Wow.
Right, Taj Umaid Palace, and also, if possible, a trip to down under Australia, to Sydney and so on. But I must say one thing about Pastor. In initial stages we interacted with you, you always used to tell us, look, create memories for your grandchildren. That's what you can leave. You can money and all, no matter. Create a memory. So we took it seriously, and whatever discussed, yes, what Pastor is saying is meaningful. So we have taken our grandchildren to many places which many grandchildren may not have experienced. We took our grandchildren on a star cruise.
Wow.
Star cruise
Came back in Singapore, we kept them.
Singapore, all of Singapore, star cruise, and a very high deck took them. And secondly, I took our grandchildren to Dubai, made them stay in a Taj Dubai hotel, which is a 7-star hotel, overlooking Burj Khalifa. I took them on top of the Burj Khalifa and seen the whole of Ferrari world, and I created enough memories for those guys.
The club room, the whole day, 2 days.
My grandchildren, what do you like to say in a club room, not an ordinary room? They're also 5-star grandchildren. So, thank you so much for giving us this motivation, and we have enough memories for our grandchildren.
You know, you continue to inspire us. From the time you've been part of our church, we've been blessed. You've been helping us in our welcome ministry. You've also been part of our communion, and you are also carousel leaders. You continue to minister to a number of people. You open your homes And I know wherever you go and give Gideon Bibles to different places. I want you to know your life continues to inspire. God has been using you. I pray God will continue to bless you, give you good health in the years ahead. And you've heard the story of Brigadier Henry Bhasker and Sister Christy. I'll tell you, you need to visit with them, talk to them. They have much more to share of God's faithfulness, of God's goodness on their life, and they continue to inspire us. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I encourage you to pass this link on your social media platforms and let others know what the good Lord has done through this precious couple. Thank you, and until next time, God bless you.